think you can go ahead, Ken.
Yep. Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, the Director of Client Profitability for eTruckBiz. I want to thank everybody for joining us. The attendee list is growing rapidly here. We're going to talk about some of our normal stuff today, as well as any other new announcements that have come out, and hopefully have a pretty open question and answer session. So we will get started here shortly as the attendee list does continue to grow here. As always, please put your question and answers into the Q&A so we can discuss those all at one time. So if everybody can just sit tight for another minute, and then we'll get rolling with Jeff Walczak. Thank you very much. Hello again, everyone. This is Ken Kibler, Director of Customer Profitability with eTruckBiz. I want to thank you for joining us today as we talk about some of the same subjects as new subject and add new subjects as well. So if you do have questions, once again, please put them in the Q&A so we can have the question and answer session at the end after we've covered everything here. Without further ado, I will turn it over to Jeff Walczak. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And as always, we got to tell you that eTruckBiz is not sponsored, does not endorse, sponsored, approved, or otherwise affiliated with FedEx Ground. Just out here calling them like we see them. Okay, last week's volume, really, interestingly enough, right now, there's really not too much to see. It looks like the pickup stops rebounded a little bit, but the packages didn't so much, which I'm sure you're seeing that this week right now. And yep, here we are on the delivery side, kind of hanging around that trend line. Let's watch the trend line, though. The trend line is actually on the increase. You'll see here in a second why that's important, but it seems to be dipping around there. You would think that now, finally, you might start to see a little bit of volume for what might happen here, but maybe not, and there's a reason why. So, but there's one thing that happened last week that's not so cool. The productivity took a big dive. You can see that over here, but down 2.86% productivity-wise. That just means our cost per stop is going to be up, and that's no good. We don't want that, right? We want cost per stop down. Down, good, up, bad when it comes to cost per stop. So watch that as we go. Okay. We're hearing that UPS volumes might be starting to slip a bit. So here was an article a few days ago, UPS tempers 2023 revenue view as freight volumes remain strained. They start to talk about it. Well, there's all kinds of varying things out there, and depending on if you know anybody at UPS, that would be interesting to see if they can tell you what's going on or what they think is going on. But we're starting to hear that some of the volume over at UPS might be very soft, actually. And if that's true, we should start seeing that coming over to FedEx. However, it doesn't really seem to be doing that. So it doesn't as a trend in a little bit, but in general, if their volume is down, and the FedEx volume isn't really up that strong, that might be a more of a indication of how the market's doing. The market might not be might not be doing that well. So anyway, keep that in mind. And again, this week should be very interesting. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, some information on the strike threat. So the last big news, of course, was our friends the Teamsters authorized the leadership to strike UPS, call a strike if they want. Went over that before, but again, the 97% vote to strike was very interesting. Covered this last week as well, but this is interesting because the latest thing was, so apparently last Thursday, UPS made their first, I guess it was their first contract proposal to the Teamsters. And as they did so, the Teamsters weren't too happy about it. A potential August 1st strike is still on the table for more than 330,000 UPS workers, with the union behind them stepping up labor contract negotiations with an unwavering message. Pay up. They want UPS to pay up. So after a Thursday meeting, the Teamsters shared their full economic proposal with UPS for a new 5-year contract. The union voiced its displeasure with the shipping company's appalling counterproposal, declaring no more meetings until money gets real. No more meetings until money gets real. So there was a tweet by the Teamsters saying the same thing. The Teamsters will not bargain or accept any contract that's
Jeff, did we lose you? Jeff, did we lose your microphone? I will pick up there. It says, the Teamsters will not bargain or accept any contract that's cost neutral, said Sean O'Brien, General President of the Teamsters. During the meeting, we are not going to sell ourselves short in these negotiations, and we will not buy back terms and conditions to protect our members. We have 39 days to go. This company is wasting time putting forth offensive proposals. Jeff, we can't hear you. Says if UPS wants to negotiate for a contract for 1997 working. Okay. All righty. Hopefully anybody can still hear me here. Carrie, are you able to hear me? Just making sure. As Jeff gets reconnected here.
I can hear you, Ken.
Okay. Basically, what these slides are going to show is that it's getting very intense down on the economic proposals between the Teamsters and UPS. Is this normal posturing? We don't know, but Sean O'Brien is going to push UPS for every penny that he believes they can afford and then some, especially when you have the backing of 97% approval on a with the strike vote. So that is it's absolutely significant. So I think you're going to see some intensity over the next few weeks. But as I did say, there's 30 something days left to come to an agreement. We shall see if that continues. Jeff, have you got your microphone back yet?
I hope so. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can now hear you.
Did you hear the whole first couple slides?
Now we need to go back 2 slides, I believe.
All right, let's go back. This one.
15. Keep going about 2 forward, I think. One more.
So
Yeah, this is where you broke off. I was reading the last paragraph.
well, the big thing here I was trying to say is, and I don't know, you might have just said it, Ken, when I was trying to get back on here, but this is the rhetoric isn't necessarily uncommon, or it's not out of line, but they want to keep referencing. This is interesting. They want to keep referencing 97, right? So, or actually, what happened here so far, the union is saying, no, we're not going to come back to the table until the money's right, whatever that means. And I don't know how they're going to know the money's right unless they come back to the table, right? So here they are threatening 97. They're going to walk out, and we'll see. Right now, it doesn't mean too much, other than they're, at least on the union side, they're going to start, on the Teamster side, they're going to start upping the rhetoric. I think Ken's saying that. But what's interesting here, in an alternate universe, says on Thursday, UPS described the talks on Thursday. UPS described the talks progress towards a new national agreement as strong, with both parties agreeing on all non-economic issues. Strong? Is that what the union said? I don't think so. Says UPS is prepared to be at the table every day until we reach an agreement that allows us to continue rewarding our people with the best pay, right? So Teamsters say, nope, we're not coming to the table till you have a serious offer. UPS saying, no, everything's okay over here. The parties have taken different public approaches to labor negotiations with UPS and the CEO, continually pointing to the progress being made. On the other hand, the Teamsters have been more critical of the opposition, whether it be via social media posts or Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So they're out there. They might be out there. That's interesting, too. They might now start, there might be some folks starting to get out in front of some of the facilities, see what happens with that. Well, as always, we'll take questions on things. You can ask questions down in the chat box or in the Q&A, and I don't know if you already did or not. But I think what everybody wants to talk about first and foremost is what's going on north of the border. So we're just going to call this the Canada announcement. Okay, it's interesting. We're going to try to go through what was being said in a pretty brief description of what's going on. Anyways, Mr. FedEx said this decision reflects the population, geography, and competitive landscape specific to Canada, and it differs from the P&D optimization efforts in the U.S. as part of Network 2.0. So the first thing that everybody should we should have common understanding is Canada is different than the United States. Oh, that's a different country, Jeff. That's good. Yeah, it is a different country, but the whole way everything works up there is different. So the first thing is, I don't know if many of you know or don't know, but Canada never went ISP. They were all on the old contract. So, and of course there was a reason for that. I think we just found out why, but that's one of the things that's different too. Another thing about Canada is the competition is different in Canada. So here it's basically UPS, FedEx, some regional carriers. That's kind of the landscape. In Canada, there's a lot more. Ken, who's up in Canada? So you got
One of
UPS,
the
you got
biggest,
FedEx.
yeah, the biggest small package carrier in Canada is Purolator. They had made an attempt to make a run in the United States probably close to 30 years ago, but they are the dominant carrier up in Canada, as well as the Postal Service is strong. UPS is also up there, and then FedEx has been there. And then, just as we have the regional and couriers, they do as well. In fact, there's a pretty good national courier that actually handles the majority of the Amazon business north of the border. So slightly different landscape.
So there's a lot of things that are different, but the move must somehow be consistent with the goals and objectives of Network 2.0. So the stated goal, the main stated goal, there's a lot of different things, but the main stated goal, of course, is to save literally billions of dollars by combining networks and reshaping the network. It might not be just that. There might be some other things that are happening, but continue with this announcement. Now, this is important. In the U.S., we will continue to take a market-by-market approach to P&D optimization, using both employee couriers and contracted service providers across their ground operations. Okay. This is a very interesting statement. This is a real good study in how to speak FedEx. So what does this mean? Market by market. I mean, it means what it says, market by market, but that's probably a reference to, I mean, all you can really do at this point is try to compare what Canada would look like, or how Canada compares and contrasts with what's going on in the United States, which you could argue both ways. You could say, well, there's nothing in Canada and it's 55 miles per stop and everything like that. Well, that's probably true, but not in Toronto, not in Montreal, not in Windsor, I don't think. It is different. The density is different because there's extra competition up there. It's a very interesting thing that's being said here, a market by market approach. It could mean other things. It could mean we're not here to scare you, but it could mean maybe some sort of change in the contract or some sort of different contract that comes out. There's all kinds of things here now. If you they've never really used this term market by market approach to P&D optimization. There's something that can be said later that they're going to say, well, we told you back in June that we're going to take a market by market approach to P&D optimization. Something is going on. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it without scaring everybody. Be careful. It says, while today's announcement is a significant milestone along the road to One FedEx, we are taking a tailored approach for this unique market in the U.S. The company remains committed to using both employee, couriers, and contract service providers across the ground operation. Okay, they didn't ever say they committed to it before, but now they remain committed to it. Again, this probably means a lot of things. One of the things is we're going to need to be ready to be flexible and dynamic going forward. So what does that mean, Jeff? Well, that means we've been trying to say this for a very long time. The way that the business has been run for the last however many years is about to change. Right? You're not going to dispatch like you do now. You're not going to be able to accept the productivity you get now. There's all kinds of different things that are about to happen here. A tailored approach means that the Canada situation is different than the U.S. situation, but they want to make it appear, it seems like they want to make it appear by saying that this is just Canada, this isn't the United States that's going to go through this whole thing. That's a good question. That is a very good question. And this, they really, I mean, you would think that this, you would assume this way back in the day, but they didn't. Back in the announcement of 2.0 back in last year at this time, they didn't say anything about using both employee couriers and contract service providers. You could assume that, but this is really the first time you're seeing that, right? Okay. A lot of people are asking. Everybody's calling, texting, wanting to know, what do we think? We do not believe contractors will be eliminated in the continental United States. That's probably not going to happen. However, operational characteristics will likely be very different. There's going to be a lot of things changing. Okay. All right. Now, the question is, okay, things are changing. You're not really telling us what it is because we don't want to scare you. So what can we do right now? So one of the things, if you look around, you see what's going on, you want to make sure you're ready for anything. And what I mean by that is, what if your business changes to the point where you've got to get some more trucks, or you got to get rid of some trucks, or you got to do whatever you got to do to stay in this game? A lot of folks, we see it on the brokerage side of things. We want to make sure that everybody's got their financial house in order. And what that means is having a P&L that you can pull up real quick, a balance sheet you can get to real quick. You would want to make sure you got your tax returns done. Why? Well, you might want to sell. Why? You might need to borrow some money to keep going. You might need to do a lot of different things. And when there's going to be this much change coming about, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier if you've got a bunch of these things in place. So we have a new product coming out pretty soon, several new products coming out pretty soon. You'll hear about those later. But all those things actually also support the next thing here, which is you might start thinking hard. And those of you that were around 2 or 3, 4 years ago when we started talking about this, you might want to think real hard about how you might expand your business to have more than one customer. Remember, FedEx is your customer. You've got them you have a contract to provide transportation services with them. So why couldn't you have other contracts to provide transportation services to other folks? It's probably time to dust that idea back off and think about it. Okay, and another thing we need to do is, this is coming up here pretty soon. We've had quite a bit of interest in this. high hopes this week we'll probably announce some days for what this whole thing looks like from an operational standpoint, what it looks like from putting the two operations together, and how are you going to engineer that operation? How is that going to go, right? You do know that FedEx isn't going to, they're not going to engineer your business for you. So, you know, they look at it as just here's some packages, have a nice day. You need to be on the other end of that saying, okay, I got some packages. Now, how are we going to make this a really good, profitable day, right? So hopefully this is going to be coming up pretty soon. I don't know if you can do this, take a scan of this code and get some more information on this, but there you go. I know it was pretty vague, but I'm just going to tell you right now, there's things breaking literally as we're sitting here right now. Some more announcements are probably going to be being made here pretty soon. So Ken, are there any questions or any comments or anything? Anybody on here?
Yes,
Hey, Jeff.
looks like Ken is
Hey.
muted.
Okay,
Oh,
there we go. I'm sorry. So, as Jeff was very vague, but that's what we have right now. But the key point is knowing what capacity you have in your operation, what your costs are in your operation, what your revenue is in your operation. And you want to have these numbers at your fingertips at any time. As Jeff said, you might need to expand. You might want to sell. You know, if you want to sell, you don't want to have to take 3 months to look for that data. You want to have it available. So efficiency will always be important. And if these changing rules affect your efficiency, can you demonstrate how it has affected your efficiency? So, first question that has just come across is, you say that you don't believe the contractor model is going away in the US. Why do you say that? You want that, Jeff, or do you want me to handle that one?
because they wouldn't have done all the things that they're doing if that's the case. So a contractor, being a contractor, it's the low cost way to provide last mile services in the transportation industry. FedEx ground contractors provide the low cost way to get that done. That's what they're after. They're after the low cost way to get it done. When you start mixing everything together, though, you start having to think about, well, if there's a trailer of freight sitting here, if there's these overnights sitting here, if this is that sitting here, these ground packages, I got pickups, I got all these other things, you may need to mix them all kinds of things together and come up with some sort of hybrid. But that's what they're after. They want to move as much volume and as much as they can to a contracted service provider, because that's the low cost provider. That's what the whole point of 2.0 is. So they're not going to abandon that.
I absolutely agree with that. And I said, and we're seeing contracts now that have positive growth in them. And we believe that that is due to moving express packages. We're not 100% sure. But we definitely think that they want that low cost model. That's where the infrastructure and dollars are being spent. As Jeff has shown pictures on these webinars before of a facility that was a FedEx facility. It wasn't a FedEx Express facility, correct, Jeff?
Yeah, those are out there. It's a FedEx, everything can be run out of it facility. Yes, sir.
Okay, yep. Says, will FedEx Express be selling the vehicles? If so, how do we acquire website company? If I'm not mistaken, they sell all of their vehicles through auction. If anybody can correct me on that, but I think their vehicles go through auction, and I'm not sure where they are listed. I know we've had several customers buy that way, so that might be a question that we can address next week, but they normally do go through auction. And will they be selling some? I would think so. The one thing they haven't been doing is buying any new trucks. If you go by an express facility, you'll see rentals there. Because they are not buying new trucks. And meanwhile, FedEx Ground is supporting a lot of vendors that do sell trucks. So anything to add to that, Jeff, as far as the vehicles?
No, sir.
Okay. Would you like me to show some of these calculators?
Yeah, I thought there'd be a heck of a lot more questions. I know. I'm just going to tell you guys, stuff is hitting my phone right now. There's something's going on. So that's why I'm a little distracted. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Is there concern that UPS wage increases will create pressure for ISP? Did this happen in 1997? 97, everybody was under the independent contractor concept, and there weren't individual contracts negotiated. They were kind of across the board rates. Everybody in the terminal basically received the same package and stops settlement. The only thing that varied was what was called temporary core zone density settlement. Could a big wage increase drive the price of the market? It could. The problem is, for somebody to become a driver at UPS, you normally have to go become a package handler first. So it's a different path. It's a longer path. You know, a UPS driver at top wage makes $41 per hour. Do any contractors pay $41 per hour? Well, they might if they pay a per day rate and the guy only works 5 hours a day, but not by design. So anything to add to that, Jeff?
So something to think about is if the Teamsters are going to boast, and whatever happens, if they get a 1% increase, they're going to say it's the greatest 1% increase of all time. If they get a 10% increase, it's the greatest of all time. What they're not going to tell you is the only way, this has happened every time, the only way UPS grants any kind of increase in hourly wage, if that's the thing, then they get a corresponding or even greater union concession in productivity. So basically UPS will say, well, can you do 3 more stops an hour? And the union will say, well, I think we could do 2.5 extra stops an hour. Okay, great. So you can have a 5% increase. But really those stops per hour increase in productivity represents, way more than what they're giving up in any kind of wage. That's the one thing no one talks about. But that's what happens. So that's the problem there is if your folks come to you and they say, well, I gotta go to UPS now because they're making $5 more an hour. It's the same thing. Well, I can pay you $5 more an hour, but you're gonna have to deliver 3 more stops an hour. Same thing. It should be the same thing, but that's usually happens. That's everybody gets it in their mind. Oh, I'm getting more. UPS is making more per hour, so we should get it too. So yeah, I'd be prepared to answer those kinds of questions or comments. Put it that way.
If FedEx is FedEx trying to cut revenue to the point that I would need to grow into having additional customers? other than FedEx, why should we continue to contract with FedEx Ground? And does FedEx really believe that contracts should profit less than 12% run if we run well? You want that one, Jeff?
Now, go ahead.
All right. Are they trying to cut revenue? I don't believe so. Is volume dropping on these contracts? Absolutely. Do they want you to have other customers? I'm not so sure of that. Do we think you might want to have other customers? Absolutely. And you best utilize your resources where you can make the most money. So I think that's probably the best way to ask it. The model we show is 12%. I heard that business development in Wisconsin told the CSPs that they thought it should be 8 to 10%. I would hope that they would want it near 12% because there's just other industries where people are going to get 8% back on their money and not work as hard. So I don't believe that they want you to drop below 12%. But if BDS is saying that in your area, please let us know. And we think that would be a really, really bad mistake on their point. Okay. What is the best way to tap into the express driver availability pool? I would say talk to the drivers, recruit. If an express driver is going to be losing his job, he or she will be looking for employment. Have your drivers talk to other drivers. If you want to give an incentive for your drivers to recruit people, you can do that. You know, they talk to the other FedEx drivers while they're out there. So I think that's probably the best way to do it. Another question, is FedEx going employee-based in Canada and have eliminated ground in Alaska? Why? What if the employee-based model proves more cost-effective for FedEx? Would it stand to reason that the next move would be to move to the US to the employee-based? I understand it will be down the road, but be ready if is what we are prepared for. I think there's a market by market approach, but think about you know your market. It can express or an employee-based model support $4 per stop. I don't know. Can it support $5 per stop? I don't know. I know it can't support under $3 per stop. I seriously doubt that. Would the employee model support $15 per stop? Because all of those situations appear with our customers in the markets in the US. You have, you know, some so rural that it's $15 a stop. You have some so dense that it's under $2.50 per stop. The key is, like I said, be as efficient as you can in your operation. But all of the steps they have taken is not to be employee-based in the United States. The 48 contiguous unit states. Anything to add to that, Jeff?
They're just not. It's not gonna. They're not gonna turn the United States to all employees. There was no need to go through this whole Network 2.0 thing. And really, quite honestly, they told Wall Street they were going to save $4, $6, whatever billion. They're not going to do that through employee careers. That's not going to happen. They would have just done that already if that was the case.
Yeah.
So,
do you recommend taking logos off trucks then if we are able to service other customers? You want that, Jeff, or you want me? I don't think it's bad to have a fleet of unmarked vehicles. But if you have to operate under your own DOT authority, know that everything that goes along with it, and then the insurance requirements. But it's always good to have a diversified customer base. And if you can do it profitably or slowly, I think that it will never be a bad thing.
You can't deliver others. You can't use your trucks for other purposes unless you cover up the logos. Did you already say that?
Yeah, or run with non-decal ones, which you can do.
Yeah.
And it's not like
you
that.
can do that all day
I mean,
long.
that service fee, I mean, originally it started at about $40 per truck per week, seems to be $20 to $25 now. So you can ask yourself that, does having a decal truck help you in certain circumstances when you pull in to a customer dock? Yes. Does it help when your driver's making a delivery at 8 o'clock at night in a rural area and it's decaled? Yeah, it probably does. It's probably stopped a few people from meeting a gun. So, but it's one of those you want to take a look at what's best for your business. And if you do take the decals off and want to use for somebody else, can you support the cost there as well? Next question, will FedEx incentivize ISP contractors to offer employees benefits future forecast? I believe that they think they do in certain markets. It's all about revenue generation. And once again, what is your cost to do that? What does that add to your cost per dispatch? And what can you generate on a revenue per dispatch basis? At the time of the negotiation, especially if you have us help you with that ISP negotiation, one of the steps that we have you take is to ask the negotiator what they see as your goal for stops per dispatch. If they are supposed to tell you that. Okay, that came straight from the VP Jim Moore during his metals presentation. So if we are helping you, we're going to have you ask that statement. If you do it on your own, I think you're crazy to do it on your own, but ask that question. And then you should be able to figure out what your goal, what FedEx sees as a reasonable revenue per dispatch for you. Okay. Carrie, do you want to add anything to that?
Not at this time. I think you did a very good job, Ken.
Thank you. Ugh. All right. Next question. Does eTruck offer any consultation on diversifying your operation, helping look at other opportunities for non-decal fleets? Also adding info on a previous question, I believe FX is looking at providing charges for the ISPs because it was a question of our latest ACC. Okay. We can help you, guide you a little bit. Please send me an email if you have any questions on utilizing other sources. Getting your own DOT number isn't difficult. What is difficult is the insurance piece, but I can give you a little bit of advice on that. My email is ken.kibler, KIBLER, @etruckbiz.com. And you know, we don't have any customers per se that are looking for extra trucks, but believe me that they're out there. You can source some stuff. Once again, a lot more difficult. The greatest thing about FedEx is you don't have to do any marketing and you don't have to do any collections. Those things can eat a transportation company's lunch and take a lot of your time. So anything to add to that, Jeff?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. If there is a market by market approach, which market would be susceptible to employee-based approach? Do we want to speculate, Jeff, or not?
Well, you can look at what they just did. So Alaska and Hawaii, apparently were susceptible. Most of Canada. If you have very, very, question is how low, but if you have a very low density area, I'd be wondering what's going on right now.
And you might have some other kind of unique situations where you've got ferries involved, cartage involved, and things like that. So there's just that there are CSAs that are extremely rural and extremely out of the ordinary that would drive up that cost. So I think that would add to it. Okay. Regarding healthcare, was Dan's response is also adding info on previous. I believe FX is looking at providing charges. Okay. So if a contractor is providing healthcare, would it be supplemented by FedEx? If they're looking at that, I'm not sure. Would they try to use some buying power and have some healthcare vendors that they might approve of that they don't necessarily back? I guess that would be something that they might be looking at. So can you explain the white glove services and other planned services that E-Truck will be offering? And what about a fuel card? You want this one, Jeff?
Okay. So we have been asked, or those of you, most of you know, we've been offering some different services kind of a la carte. So let's just say payroll. We help administer your payroll. You want us to, so you could stay out of the FedEx penalty box with that. We do some other things, but what we're gonna do is what we've been asked. Well, we've got several people doing this now. They just want us to do basically all of these things in one big package. So if there was a package where you could have somebody work your DRO for you, do your payroll, do your recruiting, watch your VEDR, KPIs. What am I missing? There's several other things that are now in our new white glove package. You guys can pipe up, but there's some other things we're going to get. They'll just say we're going to get much, much deeper into the financial side of the house here pretty soon. So watch your emails and stuff for that too. And as it all comes together into one package, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But we're sort of getting it out there now. If you're interested and you want to be one of the first participants in this, or you won't be the first, but if you want to have all these services packaged for you so you don't have to worry about them anymore, just give Ken a call. Give him an email or a call.
Ready? Okay. There was a comment. FDX stop is up nearly 5% this AM, and really no published news. Somebody knows something.
Oh yeah, they do.
Somebody also said example of other customers. Freight forwarders are a big source, especially if you've got straight trucks. You could be doing line haul basically for freight forwarders in the evenings. That would be a source. There's other retailers out there that are going consumer direct as well. So those would be some examples of other customers. Oh, it looks like the the Q&A session did take off. Got a lot of good questions in here. With some of today's developments and fresh news, I think next Tuesday will be very exciting as well. So we will definitely be back here next week. We'll give you all the updates on the UPS situation, some of the most recent announcements that we just got word of right before this. So please be back here next week. Please continue to focus on your stops per dispatch and your revenue per dispatch. That was a little alarming. The trend line is going up on packages and stops, and then we took that dip last week with our customers on the efficiency. So work hard at that. Look at your historical data. Look at the op metrics each day. Look at your optics app each day if you're a customer of eTruckBiz. So without further ado, does anybody have anything else to add? Jeff, Carrie, or Bob?
Nope, I'm good.
Great job, Ken.
Thank you. I'm blushing. All righty. So please, everybody, have a great, safe, and profitable week. And we look forward to talking to everybody next week again at the same time. Bye-bye.